G'day. If you've got a weekend free and you want to scoot up past the Blue Mountains, there's Bathurst. I called in there on the way back from a long trip heading towards Sydney. From Sydney itself, it's only 200 kilometres, and they've got a lot to offer. They've got lots of shops there, and also the three great places I really enjoyed. One was called Abercrombie House. Next one was Ben Chifley, the ex-Prime Minister of Australia, his house. And the third one was the Rail Museum. All three were absolutely awesome. So if you've got a bit of time, call in and check it out. I just wanted to share this with you. Now this is opulence to one of the highest degrees, and again it's really exciting to be able to experience this. This is obviously a family that was pretty well off, and how lucky was I actually got to meet the owner of the building, and he gave me a bit of a brief history on it. But this is their Christmas. So this house is actually lived in as well as being open to the public, which is great. It's just sophistication absolutely everywhere, and gold gilded mirrors and chandeliers in every room. I think from memory it may have even had a chandelier in the toilet, but I'll keep walking you around because I think it's well worth having a look at. Check this out. This is Ben Chifley's house, right? You're actually allowed to come in here and rattle away on the piano. It's a pianola, and they're the ones that you run the steps like that. Now the kids will love it, and some of the older kids. I've no idea what the song is, but I'm sure it'll be fun. This was the pantry, and again, so what happened, the house was there. This was like a walkway into the kitchen. The kitchen was a separate building. So in the pantry here, one of the big time things here, I'll just squeeze back, here the fly spray, bug spray. I mean, nowadays we've got all sorts of aerosols and all that sort of stuff, but back in those days you'd have to fill this thing up with, you've got a little area to put it in, and then you would pump it, get the mozzies and the flies and all that sort of stuff. It was very effective, but I'm sure it was very, very dangerous, the stuff that you're breathing in. So we're not to touch anything, which is understandable. This is where Ben Chifley would come out to wine and dine. This is his kitchen, and obviously cooking facilities here. But you've got to remember that that was some time back. So Ben and his wife would come out here. Probably his wife would do most of the work back in those days. Did the kitchen work. I can't imagine Mr. Chifley, the Prime Minister, cooking his meals. But yeah, you've got your old stove here, old oven, and just around here, what we would now call an old-fashioned fridge. But at the time, this would have been absolutely state-of-the-art. This was another classic thing of that period, probably the 50s more, is they would have their canisters, and they would have, say, maybe tea in there, flour in there, rice in there, and they'd have it all organised. So that was the way they did it back then. And the cosy was the thing. So you'd make yourself a pot of tea, put the cosy on the top, and they'd put that on it to keep it hot. Then you'd have your tea strainer here, which would be as you poured your tea, and one of these would probably have sugar, and one of them would have milk. And usually, being the Prime Minister, he would serve this on the best fine china when guests would come over. So this is the obviously the main bedroom. This is Ben Chifley's office, like his home office, and obviously being the Prime Minister, you get a lot of important things done in here. His desk would have been here, and his chair would have been here, so he would have been looking out there if he had needed to. And behind him was the sunlight would obviously come in. He was one of the first houses in Bathurst that had a phone line put in. Obviously, Prime Minister is pretty important, so he has all the old PMG infrastructure there. This used to be a pianola, and underneath this perspex thing is a samurai sword, which was presented to him by Lord Mount Panorama. That's the photo up there. You probably can't see it, but all pretty important people. And yeah, this used to be a pianola, but it started to play up, so they ripped out the innards of it and made a little bookcase. So essentially what they would do is they would put the dirty washing in here, and this is the copper, the boiler. They'd actually boil it up, and from memory I think they might have used a big stick, and they would use this a lot. This is called Reckitt's bag glue, and this was also used for ant bites. And grandparents would put it, or parents would put it on a bite, and it would allegedly heal it, which is good. It looked like that. Yeah, boil it up, do a bit more washing, and here would be the mangle, which was, I think from memory, a wine thing, and you could put these with the different, how much you could squash it down. Obviously you don't want to squash it too much or you'd wreck your clothes. You know, go through here and have to be careful you can catch your fingers, and other bits and pieces that are going through that, and that's just wring it dry and then hang it out in the clothesline. Here's a random tip for you. Actually, it's two random tips, 2 for 1. So the first thing is the wheel chocks, as you probably, if you've got them, you'll find that they're really quite heavy. So what I do is hopefully you can have a better step than this to get in the caravan. This is just my temporary one that I've had for the last 4 months, temporary. Because the other one I backed the caravan over it, destroyed it. So with this, it's really good. You can put the whole 4 of the wheel chocks in there, and for the first time ever, I put that in the caravan and they don't wander around because it's quite heavy. And because it's like this, even if it did wander a bit, it's not going to do too much, if any, damage inside the caravan. And the second tip is the reason I put the chocks on the back wheel, or the quads, is that the reason I put the chocks on the back wheel is when you jack up the front to release it from the car, you're going to put a lot of pressure on this back chock, so that when I go to leave and I put the Caravan back onto the car, this one here, the first one here in the middle, is easy to take off, and then all I need to do is drive forward a little bit and I can release the other two back ones, if you understood all that.
Work for the US Navy. Remember us, the commander's wife was down in the mess, you know, and she said, she says so that's the station master's house. It's next door, it still stands. This is Bathurst station, just right here. This is us, and we're here now. This is tennis courts, and that would be where the real model is. That's the yards, which are over in that direction, and they're still operational. I think they assemble railway track and various things, and do a bit of engineering still, actually. Apparently in its heyday there was about 500 people working in and around this area. So it's a crossover period between steam and diesel, and that's the reason you've got different engines running at the same time. So we try to encapsulate that period, you know, the crossover period. I don't know how long they were that. I think it was about months or years, I'm not sure. But
and the whole, it's all about the 60s and 70s, is that right?
Yeah, technically, yeah, and all the buildings do exist and places, you know, and yeah, they basically just trying to encapsulate that time capsule, time period.
Good morning, top of the morning to you. So I'm at Panorama, which is Bathurst race circuit. I've just been around, I've just shot some video footage, and just the way I had to film and park and everything, put the camera up, went down, then parked the car and caravan, then ran up the hill. Meanwhile, I'd lost connection to the drone. The drone had then landed on the road, as you'll see some of the cars pass by. Anywho, that's all the price. And I'm just at the end of, I think, Conrod Strait. Well, there you have it. Bathurst is only 200 kilometres from Sydney if you're going out there on a special trip, just near the Blue Mountains. Or if you're coming back from a long trip, it's probably great if you just call into Bathurst, stay the night, you can get some pretty cheap accommodation there. And as I've already pointed out, there's 3 really great places to look at. One is Abercrombie House. Absolutely fantastic, only because it's one of the very few historical houses that are really well set up that I know of in New South Wales. Then you've got Ben Chifley's house, which is great, and the third one is the Rail Museum, and all those are great for family because, you know, the kids can get a bit of history and, oh, I'm doing it again, I'm starting to dribble. Anywho, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you found the video helpful, useful and or entertaining, that's great. It'd be great too if you shared it. Anywho, this is Paul Wheel Drive signing off.